The Electric Circus. Insert coin. Thank you. Press start.
That's right, The Electric Circus, the totally geek-tastic podcast devoted to news, reviews, rants, and raves on your favorite stuff, games, gear, cons, cosplay, and more. And here's the ringmasters for today's circus, RayGunn and Ubernerd 527. So let's go down to the center ring. The show's about to begin.
Welcome, everyone. Hello, how are you today? And welcome to the Electric Circus. And I believe this is episode 12, if I'm not mistaken. I am joined today by my partner in crime, Ubernerd, a.k.a. Josh. How are we today, sir?
I am wonderful. How are you, sir?
I'm hanging in there, my friend. We also have another person from the site who will be joining us more often, and that would be the UltraSonic Player, a.k.a. Danny. Hello, Danny. How are you, sir?
Feeling pretty good. And, of course, to all my fellow arcaders out there, how's it going?
Awesome.
Good to see you guys. It's great to be back.
Well, fantastic to have you, sir. We are here. It's, I don't even know what day it is. Kind of lost track at this point. But we are going to be talking today about a very interesting subject that Josh had brought up, and I thought it was a very interesting one. We're going to talk about shows that should be on Disney Plus, and
we think they should be.
And let's face it. Now, you know, the people who have purchased Disney Plus all love the service, but you know, we always felt like, hey, why don't they have this, or hey, why don't they have that? And you know, we were not necessarily promised that everything in the library would be there, but we kind of figured it would be, and of course it's not. So Josh thought it'd be a great idea for a episode to talk about the things that have been not put on that we would love to see. Like if we had the chance to be the person in control of the output on Disney Plus, what would we put up? And we would love to hear your ideas as well. So please feel free to respond in the comments section at the website, thearcadearchives.com, as well as on our YouTube channel, The Arcade Archives. So let us know.
YouTube channel? We have a YouTube channel?
Yes, and we're gonna talk about that. we're gonna talk about that in our site news. Are you ready for site news?
We are ready.
Okay, site news.
This is Spiffy, 8-Bit Clown, and this is your site news!
All right, the first site news I have to tell you is we now have an official YouTube channel. Something we haven't had really since day one. We had our own personal YouTube channels. We sort of kind of had a YouTube channel, but it wasn't really public because everything was kind of sporadic and we weren't sure what to post. Well, I kind of made the decision after our last podcast to do something we tried before, which is post those on YouTube and create video podcasts. So what I've done is we have our new Arcade Archives YouTube channel, and where there you can find different playlists, and one of them, of course, will be the Arcade Archives video episodes, as I'm calling them. That way we can actually do them out of order. We don't have to go in a specific order. So as time goes on, I will probably be taking some of our older podcasts and beefing up the audio a bit and putting them up on the YouTube channel as well. The issue we had with the Electric Circus, I think, we didn't really have a format in the beginning, and then we kind of built it as time went on, and it got better and better. So I thought this would be a great way to introduce everybody to the podcast, and having it as a video series so that you can enjoy it while you're watching your YouTubies or whatever. I thought it would be an interesting idea. So we I posted the first one last night, which was last week's episode 11. And so from here on, all of them will be transferred to YouTube as well. So we now have our official Arcade Archives YouTube channel. How do you guys feel about that now that we have a YouTube channel?
I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah. What about you, Denny?
I personally like it. The more outlets that we have to reach our audiences, the better.
Right.
Sweet.
Right. And in the YouTube channel will grow. We will be adding, like I said, different playlists. I'll be doing some video review series, some of which were on my own personal YouTube channel. I'll be putting over onto the Arcade Archives YouTube channel probably within the next few days. It's slow rolling because I have to transfer everything over, and the podcast alone took a couple hours to process, so it takes a little time, but bear with us because you're going to see a lot of really cool content over on our YouTube channel. Maybe we'll start doing our podcasts in Zoom, in which we could do a actual video podcast, because Zoom does allow for the recording of video, which is really cool. So that's the big one for me this week. Anything else on site news?
Danny, why don't you go next? What you got there? What you got on the site there?
Okay, well, actually got a few things. So basically, I'm actually pulling up the site right now, just to give it more. Basically, what we've got is what I actually put in a few things. One of which being this month's video game song bite, or song choice, I guess you could say. This one for this month, and I guess it's pretty fitting given what's been going on in the world right now. I went with the chill theme from the classic video game Dr. Mario.
Yes.
Ooh,
And,
yeah, I love that theme.
Yeah. Yeah. So and of course, again, it's a great choice of song. And again, it's funny because for me, my cousin had the original Tetris. Actually, Dr. Mario was my first puzzle game, if you will, before Tetris came along. My cousin had Tetris, I had Dr. Mario, but yeah, this game is definitely a must, and I'm glad they have it available on the NES app for the Switch. And I also happen to have the original version, the original Game Boy version, on my 3DS, so that is a lot of fun as well. I'm having a lot of
I have a lot of fond memories for Dr. Mario because I remember when I worked at Fun and Games, we had a Play Choice 10, and for those of you who don't know what that is, basically it was an NES in an arcade cabinet, so you could put cartridges in, special cartridges that Nintendo would make, on all their latest hits. And I remember vividly getting Dr. Mario, and I was hooked. I would sit there for hours in front of this cabinet playing Dr. Mario. And it's to me, in my opinion, I think it's a better game than Tetris is. But that's my opinion.
I really liked Dr. Luigi that came out for the Wii U.
I haven't tried that yet.
Because I was part of was it Club Nintendo or whatever it was called?
Right.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
And they actually gave out free copies of the game. So I have a free copy on my Wii U.
Gonna have to try that one day. Yeah, I'll have to try that. So. But go ahead, Danny. I'm sorry we kind of went on a tangent.
Oh no! It's all good. It's all good. I mean, that's what the site is all about.
Right.
So that, as well as I had also put up a I shared a video from Star Wars because I remember you had mentioned that something about like more other things that you wanted to see on Disney Plus.
Right.
But one of the things I saw was and I know we'll get to that in a little bit. But they just put up a behind-the-scenes video. It's very short, but it basically is a sneak peek of Jon Favreau, a.k.a. one of the architects of the MCU, or Marvel Cinematic Universe, for those who don't know the acronym.
Right.
As well as Dave Filoni, one of the key masterminds behind the classic Star Wars, The Clone Wars.
Right.
Not to be confused with the one that came before. On
and Rebels.
That as well. Yep, exactly. So yeah, so Dave Filoni, him and Jon Favreau, they're talking with a few other people like Bryce Dallas Howard. They even showed a shot of Taika Waititi, as well as even oh my gosh, I forgot her name. Gina Carano, Carl Weathers, and a few others. And again, it wasn't the whole series. It wasn't the whole documentary, but it was a sneak peek. So, and from what I could tell, it looks as though Disney Plus is planning on releasing those. That I don't know if it's like, I don't know if it's going to be one big, one single documentary.
I know.
Or it's going to be like chopped up into episodes.
Yeah,
but basically,
it's gonna be like a documentary series that they're gonna put on Disney, and the first episode they're gonna start with is The Mandalorian.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. And the cool thing too is that it's going to be released after Clone Wars is over.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
Or at least that's the plan anyway.
And it's going to come out on May the
yeah,
4th. Yeah, it's going to be out on May the 4th.
Very cool.
Yeah, May the 4th. May the 4th.
Very, very cool.
And there's actually one other thing that I'm currently working on right now, but again, it's not up yet, but hopefully within the next few days it will.
Okay, very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, Josh, you got anything, buddy?
Yeah, so we're continuing with Nostalgia on Disney Plus. Again, for those of you who've never been to the site before, Nostalgia on Disney Plus is a review series that I do that reviews Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and other Disney shows on Disney Plus that you can watch. I stick to more modern cartoons, more newer stuff.
Right.
And we're continuing our episode by episode review of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Tomorrow will be the second episode of the Siege of Mandalore, which is the final arc leading up to the end of the Clone Wars. Really quickly, last episode was Friends Not Forgotten. It was the first part of the Siege of Mandalore, and my gosh, oh my gosh,
you're not alone, man.
Oh my gosh. There were tears. Yeah. There were tears. There was excitement. I don't know if you have seen it yet, Ray, or not, but the coolest, like, even from the very first second of the show, the very first second was the original Lucasfilm logo.
Oh, wow.
Not the new one. The original green, the original green logo, all that stuff. It was beautiful. I cried. It was followed. It was followed by the Clone Wars,
right,
in red, and instead of having the Clone Wars main theme, which is a variation of the Star Wars main theme, they have the original Star Wars main theme, and I was so happy. And also didn't have a fortune cookie.
Oh.
Like it usually does.
Okay.
So,
well, I think it makes, because given the timeline, I don't think there's really much of a proverb or anything that really needs to be said. And what I liked about it too, especially just with the first, like right after the intro theme song, right as soon as it starts, just as soon as the episode begins, everything, it doesn't even feel like what you would expect from the show, because I don't know, again, credit to the animators, because the whole thing felt like an almost, dare I say it, like it almost felt like something straight out of Revenge of the Sith, like an extra bonus scene.
Like an extra scene animation you can tag onto it. Yeah, I agree. And it was so beautiful, and it harkened back to it had connections back to the Clone Wars movie, the original trilogy, everything, just even the sequel trilogy. It had connections to the sequel trilogy, everything. Just, it was so beautiful. And I'm so excited to see the next. And the only thing I hated about it, and this is in the review too, was the end. It just ended, and it left on a cliffhanger. And it was like, I sat there going, no.
Yeah.
And no music. No music. That's how you know that.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh man, it stopped, and it was just like, no, what happened? Like, now I have to wait a whole week.
Plot line winding down. Like you know what's going to end up happening after all this, and it's just it's like I think and the little subtle and by not adding that music cue that they usually put really tells you. Yeah, to quote Doctor Strange, we're in the end game now.
Oh yeah, and I'm so excited to continue with this. I'm very sure where a lot of the budget went to for this last season. But I'm very happy. I'm very proud of this, and I can't wait to see what Dave Filoni and I totally believe George Lucas had in mind for the end of this series. So yeah.
Very cool.
But that's pretty much it for now. I am going to have next month a new review for Nostalgia on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Again, for those of you who've never seen it, we keep doing reviews of more modern shows you can find on the service.
Right.
I think next month is going to be, unless I change my mind, it's going to be a review of The Legend of Three Caballeros.
Oh, yeah, and I like that. That is a good show. Yeah, that's a good show.
Wait, they did a new one?
Yes, it's a series. Actually, the series was done a while back.
Yeah, it was about 8 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
I think I know what you're talking about.
But for some reason, it wasn't released to the general public.
Right.
So they put it on Disney Plus as a Disney Plus exclusive. It's a really good series. I can see where they got a lot of the inspiration for like the new DuckTales,
right?
From it. So,
which, by the way, did you see the latest news that my wife's favorite character, by the way, Daisy Duck, is finally going to be on DuckTales?
Yes, I saw the preview for it. And,
yes.
It looks like Donald hasn't met Daisy yet.
Yeah,
so
this is
going to be interesting.
Weird. Yeah, it's going to be weird. But,
I'm actually really excited about this.
Yeah, because they're finally bringing Daisy in. Daisy doesn't get a lot of love, as my wife says. So seeing her actually in an episode...
She tends to be a little bit she tends to be a little underrated.
Yeah, and that's my wife's favorite character, which, by the way, just to let you know, today is the 25th anniversary of meeting my wife. So,
aww.
we met 25 years ago today. So I'm pretty happy and posted all my little schmaltzy love letter to my wife on Facebook already. I've always felt that you have this core group of characters, and Daisy isn't really a part of it, yet she is. She's always kind of that. So to see them actually give her some love on a modern series like DuckTales is pretty cool. So
yeah, and they've been introducing a lot of things. They had Goofy from Goof Troop.
Yes.
In it, and they even said that the Goofy movie is part of the DuckTales canon.
Oh, that's cool.
They alluded to that. They also introduced Gadget.
Yep.
From Rescue Rangers.
Yeah.
And they'll be introducing the Rescue Rangers eventually. But they introduced Gadget quietly. So that was pretty cool. And they also introduced Steelbeak from Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck, yeah.
As a villain. Yeah. So.
Although I do kind of feel, personally, I think maybe it's just me, but I kind of feel it was a drag that they didn't get Rob Paulson to voice the character. But still, all the same.
He fits pretty well. I've heard his voice. Even though it doesn't sound like what Rob Paulson did, it fits. I think it fits really well. It's a little weird and off-putting at first, but it fits. The voice fits.
It's funny because there's one character I know that they've brought in Gizmo Duck, that I remember.
Yes, they have.
But the one character they have not brought in that I know of is one that most people don't even remember, and that's Bubba Duck. Which is
they brought him in.
Did they bring Bubba in?
He's in season 2.
Is he really?
Did.
Interesting.
Yes, yeah. There's an episode where Bubba's in it. He's not a big role, but I think he's coming back for this season, so we'll see what happens. But yes, Bubba is in DuckTales. They even brought the genie from the movie.
Oh wow, the DuckTales movie. Yeah. Wow,
really?
Interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
And the funny thing is, he's all about '90s stuff.
Oh god. Unfortunately, Rip
but
Taylor
yeah,
did not voice him this time. So,
Yeah.
because Rip Taylor passed
yeah,
away.
It's, yeah.
So.
It's really fun. I'm definitely going to, when season 3 of DuckTales comes on Disney Plus, I'll be definitely reviewing that, because I reviewed the second season because I've already watched the first season.
Right.
And I've already said my piece on that. But
Okay.
the second season was really, really good. And the third season is looking to be just as good, if not better.
Well,
especially since they're kind of making a broader Disney afternoon universe.
Yeah.
Bonkers Deep Bobcats
Well, I guess-
not far behind.
I guess it makes sense for the more modern times because I don't think you could have
Yeah.
done it during the 80s. Or
Right.
could you?
I don't know. But this is making it. I mean, heck, there's even a little nod to gummy bears in the first
Oh.
season. So
I'll tell you, I love
Yeah.
gummy bears. All we need now is the Wuzzles to show up.
Yeah.
Let's get those
pretty
Wuzzles in
much.
there.
Pretty much.
all right.
All right,
So,
well,
with all this
yeah,
Disney Plus talk,
yes,
let's get into the main point of our discussion. Now we
Correct.
all have Disney Plus.
yes,
We all love Disney Plus.
yep,
But there are some things that we all wish that Disney Plus would have in their service.
right,
And we're going to talk about a few things that we've picked out, and these can be TV shows or genres that we think could use some more love in the show.
right.
So, Ray, let's have you start us off.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, that was interesting. I
Yeah,
thought
go
I'd
ahead.
go last, but okay. Yeah. Well, it's funny because when you think of Disney Plus, you think of this giant vault of movies and cartoons that haven't seen the light of day in a very, very long time. And that's what I expected, was the vault to open and like everything be out there, and they kind of hinted to that, but it didn't happen in the way I think everybody expected it to. Especially for someone who grew up in the late 70s through the early 80s, when Disney was a different animal, if you will, and it had different content that they were trying to test the waters, if you will, and try to grow as a company pre Michael Eisner. And that's what my list is. So we'll start with the movies portion of it, and then the TV stuff. Okay, so the first two are very similar. Something Wicked This Way Comes, which is a story by Ray Bradbury that they had adapted into a movie. I remember it scaring the bejeebies out of me when I saw it as a kid, because of a lot of the special effects and everything were just absolutely amazing. And the story involves a family in a small town, and a carnival comes, and they basically steal souls. And it was groundbreaking for its time. I really love that movie, and I remember it coming out on HBO. And I didn't see it in the theater, but I saw it on HBO, and I was just floored by this movie. And that would be one that I wish they would have put up on Disney Plus, but maybe because of the fact that it is a Ray Bradbury movie, a short story, that they couldn't get it. So that could be one of the reasons why it's not up. Another one that fits the genre, came out a few years earlier, is The Watcher in the Woods. Now, this story I vaguely remember, but it was basically the trying to remember. There's a girl in it, and she moves to a mansion in England. Okay, and the girl looks a lot like the neighbor's daughter, and it turns out it's just this ghost story, and it's very scary for a Disney movie. Like, nobody would ever think that this was a Disney film. And I remember the first time I saw something on it was on a VHS tape, and they were showing images of this movie, and you had, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and all this other stuff, and all of a sudden you had this horrific scene with a girl looking in a mirror, and then there's a skull, and it shatters, and I'm like, that's not a Disney movie. There's no way. But it was a Disney movie, and it was good. Now, another one that I would love to see them put up is Condor Man. And now most people
This is not to
mainstream...
be confused with the Puma Man.
Right. Okay. Condor Man is very interesting because it was their first superhero / espionage film. And it was about a comic book artist who is brought in by the CIA to infiltrate some evil group of people or whatever. But the interesting is he's not a super spy or anything. He gets this Condor Man outfit. Basically, the character of Condor Man is his, and they build him this like gadget outfit that he flies around Paris in, and it's just a really, really well done movie. And the opening intro is worth the price of admission because it's all 2D animation and it's gorgeous to look at. So Condor Man would be one I wish they would put up because it's so unique. Another one is one that you would never think Disney would do, and that's called The Devil and Max Devlin. And basically, it's a story about a singer who wants to become famous and makes a deal with the devil to become a famous singer. And having satanic overtones, even though it's comedic, plus it has Bill Cosby as the devil. I don't think you'll ever see this movie up on Disney. Ever. I don't think this movie will ever see the light of day.
That's awkward.
This is right there with Song of the South. Like, this will never be shown anywhere. So, but it was another movie I saw on HBO that just struck a chord, and I remember thinking, it's a good movie, but this is not Disney at all. Like, just doesn't feel like a Disney movie. The last film is one that Josh knows is extremely near and dear to my heart.
Oh, yes.
And that would be...
Oh, yes. I knew this was going to be on the list. Like, away when we decided to do
this
podcast,
is a movie...
Let's on his list.
Let's put it this way. The DVD... I have 2 copies of this movie, and the DVD sits in my computer so that when I'm working on stuff, I can listen to it in the background. And that is Midnight Madness. I love this movie. This came out in 1980, and this was at a time that Disney wanted to get into PG films. They weren't sure exactly how to go about doing that. Their first movie they did, The Black Hole, was PG. Loved the movie personally, but didn't hit all the notes that people thought of, and it's a very dark film. And then there's Midnight Madness. And the minute you watch this movie, you're thinking, this is not a Disney film at all. It's been called Revenge of the Nerds with all the bad bits taken out, but it's very implied. And so it's a very strange film from Disney. It is actually based on a real event that has been going on for about 40 years now called the Great All-Nighter. They have these all over the country, and basically what it is a scavenger hunt, if you will. You go to a location, get a clue to the next location, and it's supposed to take you to a finish line where you win a prize. And it's a great film. Everybody in it's fantastic. This also was the U.S. Film debut of a young Michael J. Fox, as well as Paul Rubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman. So
also Mandark is in it.
Yes. Yep.
Dexter's Laboratory.
Yes. It's funny. I have one of the cinema one sheets. You know, these what they would do is they'd send out these bundles to all the prospective movie theaters that would play the film, and they'd have all these one sheets, basically a single shot of the film. They would send you a group of them, and I got one from eBay, and it's actually that particular character at the arcade playing this prop version of Starfire that was built specifically for the movie, and it's so gaudy. It's got these giant handles on it that look like they're supposed to be controllers of some sort, and it has lights.
I really wish I could remember that actor's name.
Oh, I know it's not. It's in my all messed up head somewhere. I'll think of it and I'll come up with it. But he's been in dozens of films. I mean, he was in 1941, Grease, I Want to Hold Your Hand. He was in a lot of 70s staples as the atypical nerd, and he's amazing. But the entire cast was. It was just a really well done movie. How they got these different groups, and how you had the group of bullies, you had the group of good guys, you had the group of jocks, you had the group of girls. It was really, and then the group of nerds, of course. And the movie is just it's never boring. There's very slow moments in it, from here and there. But as a whole, the movie is just keeps on going. It's funny. It just delivers on so many levels. But again, it's one of those movies that Disney kind of just pushed off to the side. And in fact, it took years for them to do a physical release of this movie, which finally came out, I think, about 5 or 6 years ago from Disney Home Video. It was finally released on DVD. Before that, you had to get it from Anchor Bay. They actually came out with a DVD version of it. Sadly, no commentary, which would really make it all the better. This would be a very good one for riff tracks. If they ever did a riff tracks on this movie, I would
They haven't done that already.
It's a really good film. I highly recommend it. If you have a chance to buy the DVD, check it out. But it's one of those I wish that Disney Plus would put up, and it may happen. I know that they do take their emails very seriously, especially given right now that this is really Disney's almost sole source of income. Disney Plus is their bread and butter right now. So it's great. It's great. It would be a great time to say, hey guys, how about this movie? And it was actually one of the last films that Walt's son-in-law Ron Miller produced. So it has ties to the Disney family, and it's a lot of fun. So I highly recommend it. Even watching pieces of it on YouTube. There's so many classic lines in the movie, and it's just a lot of fun. So it's one that one and Condor Man, I really hope that they finally say, yep, let's do it. Now my last two are Disney television shows. Now back in the 70s, you had The Wonderful World of Disney, which had started on ABC, and then it moved over to NBC when I was a kid. It was Sunday nights at 7 o'clock, and it was always an hour long, whatever it was they were showing. And these two were ones that stuck out to the point that I'm 53 years old and remember seeing these the night I saw them. The first one is a movie that they did called The Whiz Kid and the Carnival Caper. And we were talking about recording before recording about this. It was kind of like this Hardy Boys series. They would have this kid called the Whiz Kid who would solve mysteries, and this one involves a carnival and somebody's robbing the carnival. And the Whiz Kid's latest creation is this 7-foot tall metal robot, and this is pre-Star Wars. This thing was really cool looking. And wow. So they infiltrate the carnival.
Send us a picture.
I will. I'll actually. Maybe I'll put it up on the site. I found a. They had released it in novel form, and I found an image of the robot. They put him in a. This is hilarious. So they have a haunted house. And they said, well, the robot, we could dress him as Frankenstein and put him in the haunted house. And they do. And it's just cool. It's like the robot's head is really big. So the Frankenstein mask is being completely stretched over his head. It's all flat and kind of weird looking. And it was just a really cool little film for kids that I wish they would put up. The other one was the 70s version of the Mickey Mouse Club, and they would put it wasn't consistent all the time, but they would do these random Mickey Mouse Club segments on the Wonderful World of Disney. And this one in 1977 was when the Mickey Mouse Club visited the Magic Kingdom. And it was in 1977, so literally it was the only place on property. And they went to a almost brand new Space Mountain, and they went through the whole park. And I'm like, I would love to see that. You can see some of it on YouTube. I found some snippets of it on YouTube, but to actually see that entire episode up on Disney Plus would be really, really cool. So that is my very long list of old stuff that no one remembers that I would love to see on Disney Plus. Yeah. So that's my list. So I will stop talking now.
All right. So Danny, because I know one specific topic we both have together, so I'll go next so that we can talk about this together.
Okay.
So this is my list. We'll start off with a genre that I wish would get more attention, and that is documentaries. I love documentaries. Disney Plus has done a very good job with some documentaries. Like, I feel like the Imagineering Story is a really good documentary series.
Yes.
They have really great documentaries that have already been produced, like Waking Sleeping Beauty,
yes,
Frank and Ollie, and Walt and El Grupo. Stuff like that is really good, and I'm glad they have it on the thing. But I really wish they had some more of them. Like, give it some more love on the show. And specifically, I'd like to see more maybe ride specific documentaries. Maybe like a series about a specific ride and its history. And this could be like new rides, or maybe old rides, and stuff like that. I'd also like to see a series about maybe each individual animated movie would be really cool. Talking about maybe the history of each movie, maybe starting with Snow White and going through all the different movies would be awesome. I know one that you said, Danny, is you wanted to talk about maybe have specific ones about animators.
Yeah, specifically because again, going back to what you mentioned about the whole Frank and Ollie, which again, incredible animators, those two guys. But I was thinking that, but namely like I'm not really sure what you would call what you could do with it, but maybe not so much a documentary type film, but rather maybe like a segment. Like a very short segment from one of the modern day animators.
It could be like a documentary series, like The Toys That Made Us.
Yeah. We're featuring folks like Glenn Keane, who animated The Beast, or Andreas Deja, who of course is like the quintessential animator for Disney villains, almost. Just those folks, just to get their pick their brains a little bit. See how they create characters and how they, that sort of thing. And also, because I know that there is a documentary that we all know, not in regards to voice actors, not called I Know That Voice. Now, it'd be interesting to see what Disney could do if they, what would their take on that be? How would, because after all, because when you think of legacy characters and the actors who have played them, you think of guys for Goofy, you think of guys like the late, great Pinto Colvig, or nowadays Bill Farmer. You think of Mickey Mouse. You think of Walt, or nowadays, up until a few years ago, the late great Wayne Allwine, and of course also Russie Taylor. Is Russie Taylor still alive, or did she pass away too?
No, she passed away just recently.
Yeah. So so little things like that, just to kind of either a documentary or a series. About voice actors specifically who work in Disney, and what their thoughts are on legacy characters and things like that, or even guys like Jason Marsden, for crying out loud, who basically to me is still the voice of Max as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah. And another documentary series I would really like is the Marvel Comics. So Marvel Comics has two documentaries, or what Disney Plus calls documentaries. But to me, they're more advertisements than documentaries. One is I forget the anniversary number. Is 70th anniversary, 80th anniversary, something like that of Marvel Comics, and specifically like they talk a lot about Stan Lee.
Yes.
And then the other one is building the MCU, basically.
Yes.
Which are basic.
Yes.
In my opinion, they're
I think
yeah.
I think it was called like Expanding the Universe and Assembling the Universe. It was like two different documentaries.
Yeah, but for me, they're more documentaries that are more advertisements than actual documentaries.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some more like in-depth, like maybe even like a series that goes over the history of different Marvel superheroes would be kind of cool. Maybe starting with like Spider-Man and going to like Captain America or X-Men, Wolverine, Venom, stuff like that. That would be really cool. Or maybe one about like the different MCU movies and how they came to be, and that would be kind of cool. And I also would like to do the same thing for Star Wars. Now, the only documentary that I know that Star Wars has on Disney Plus is actually one of my favorite Star Wars documentaries, which is Empire of Dreams, which came out with the original release of Star Wars on DVD, which I still own. And that came out in 2005.
Very quickly, did your box set of the Star Wars, did it have a picture of both Anakin and Luke standing on the front
No,
of the box?
That's the Blu-ray set. The DVD set came out in about 2005 when Revenge of the Sith came out, and I remember this because
that one, yeah.
If you played it in your PlayStation 2, it had a playable demo of the Revenge of the Sith video game. But it came with this Empire of Dreams documentary, which, in my opinion, is probably the best documentary, kind of chronologically. What's the word I'm looking for? Chronicling.
Chronologically?
Whatever. Anyways, it goes over the making of Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, and I really, really enjoyed that documentary, and it really gets you pumped. In fact, at least once a year, I watch it because it's that good.
Yeah.
But I would love to see that for like maybe the prequels, maybe the sequels. Maybe each of the individual episodes. Heck, I would really love Clone Wars, Rebels documentaries, like how those were created. Maybe some interviews with Dave Filoni. I wish Dave Filoni had a podcast. I would sit and listen to that man all day talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, well, it's funny you should mention that because I know that there's a Star Wars podcast that I listen to called Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force. And I know that they have. Well, granted, I don't know if it's for everybody because I know they have their own Patreon thing, and I think if you're like a Patreon member or something, they do because they got around to finally finding almost all the archived interviews with Dave Filoni. Some of which they do have as episodes, but then there's some that I guess if you want the whole enchilada, you pretty much have to be like a Patreon member or something. But yeah, basically I know what you mean. But yeah, Dave Filoni with having his own podcast alone, my gosh, I think every Star Wars fan worth their salt would probably be like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to be listening.
Just Dave Filoni just talking about Star Wars.
Exactly. I'm just going to sit here.
I would pay money. I would pay any amount of money.
Yeah, I'll just
hear this man talk about Star Wars.
Not do anything and listen to this podcast.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you. Yeah.
Ray, what do you think about all this? What do you think about some of these ideas?
I think these are really good untapped ideas, especially when you're talking about something like Marvel, where they bought this company. If we could do a whole history on Marvel on Disney Plus, would be fascinating. One thing I would even add is there was a documentary done on Stan Lee, I think it was about 10 years ago. I don't remember the name of it, and I'll have to find out, but it was a really, really good... Do you?
It's called With Great Power, the Stan Lee story.
That's it. Please put that up on Disney Plus. We own Marvel, or Disney owns Marvel. It would be a great asset to the whole experience if you knew this man and where he came from. And it's a really, really well done documentary. And it's 10 years ago.
I think it was last year. The one that they have Stanley is pretty good.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good documentary. I just wish it was a little bit more in depth,
right,
and less advertising.
Right. But see, that's what I liked about the other one is it really was like about Stanley's home life and how he grew up and when he met his wife, and it was a really good documentary. And if you like Marvel and you're one of these that joined in on the Marvel thing after Disney bought, and you're still, in unfamiliar territory, this is a great primer. This is really the father, if you will, of the whole Marvel thing. Yes, there were other people that were involved, but to hear his story, and then maybe do a documentary series on all the key artists that were involved in the genesis of Marvel. Your Jack Kirby.
I know that Jonathan Ross done a documentary on Steve Ditko.
Yes.
So there's that.
Yeah.
And I know
I'd love to see one about Jack Kirby.
Jack Kirby would be amazing. I mean, I think that they would be very smart, especially since they own Marvel, to do something like this where you're not just talking about Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy and whatever's hot at the moment, but really devote some time into the history of this company, where they came from, where their inspirations came from, just like you would if you were doing the Imagineering story. What's different? What's any different? There really isn't any difference. Do that. I think people would watch that all day long. Especially if it was presented in a way like the Imagineering story. If they did it that way, it would be perfect. So.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on from documentaries to 3 TV shows, actually several TV shows that I picked out. Let's start with 3 animated shows that I picked out. So the first one, the top one on my list, is a cartoon that actually came out in 2002.
Oh.
You all remember way back then.
Yes.
18 years ago, folks. So there was a show called Fillmore. And it came out about the time that Saturday morning cartoons were starting to die off.
Right.
Sad time.
I'm sad. I'm sad now.
Anyways. But Fillmore, I loved Fillmore because it was a very original idea. It parodies basically classic 70s police dramas, back in the day, and it made it kid friendly. So for those of you who've never heard the show, never seen it before, essentially it's a police drama that takes place in a middle school. And so if you all remember safety patrols, I remember when I was a kid, it was safety patrols in school, and they did nothing more than just like tell people where to go, or direct traffic or whatever. But in this show, it made the safety patrols feel like they were actually like cops in the school, and they would have things like somebody sabotaged the science fair project, and the main characters had to figure out who it was, and it's like a big conspiracy, and the principal was like the president, and then you had the police chief, and the main character used to be a delinquent who always was in detention and then became a cop, and it had all it had all the elements, and I said this before we recorded, but I'll say it again. It had one of the greatest moments in Saturday morning cartoons ever, where it had essentially they filmed it like a car chase, but it's two guys, it's 2 characters on bikes, and they're like bumping each other with their bikes, and at one point the bike loses control of the bike, he jumps off the bike goes off a hill, rolls down, and hits the ground, and in traditional cop cop show fashion, the car catches on fire and explodes. The bicycle catches on fire.
Holy moly! Oh my gosh.
And actually, I believe this was one of the first times I ever heard Tara Strong, because she plays the one of the main characters in the show, and I love the style of the show was really good. It plays it. It's kind of like Young Frankenstein, where it plays it very seriously, but like it's still the humor comes from like the absolutely outlandish things that could happen. So I really would love to see that on Disney Plus. I would totally do an article for the site if this ever came on Disney Plus, because I would totally love to watch that series again. And besides like Recess, this was one of the shows that I can remember my dad actually watching and loving watching with us and loving it. Because it just made fun of it was such a big parody of like those cop dramas, but it was for kids. So I loved it. Next up is a show that aired 2 years earlier in 2000. It was called The Weekenders.
Okay.
And, this was a cool comedy slice of life. Yeah. This was a really cool, and it had a really great ensemble cast. Great voice acting. You talked about him earlier. Voice of Max. He plays the main character. And it kind of just follows these like kids, and always every episode takes place during the weekend. So starting on Friday afternoon and usually going to like Sunday night or whatever. It was really cool. I love how they broke the fourth wall a lot, because the main character actually talked to you. He would do like one of those freeze frames, and then you would see the character kind of walk out and just kind of talk specifically to you. I thought that was kind of a neat idea. But yeah, definitely The Weekenders. I thought it was I actually liked it. I know this might get some boos from like a couple of people my age, but I actually liked it better than Rocket Power. That was on Nickelodeon. Yeah. And then the last modern cartoon is Mickey Mouse Works shorts.
Yes.
These were shorts. Yeah, these were shorts that were first aired in 1999. And then later on, they repackaged a lot of these shorts and put them in with the House of Mouse show.
Right.
But these shorts were really good.
Yes, they were.
For the time. My favorite one was Donald Duck trying to use a computer. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And trying to go on the internet. Oh my gosh. But I really like these shorts. I thought they were done very well. I'm very sad that they haven't released them on Disney Plus yet.
Give them time though.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, you know, it's funny.
Then finally.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, there was one that I was thinking about. You were talking about Disney cartoons that came out in the early to mid 2000s. There was one in particular that I really enjoyed, and it was this little kid who kind of aspired to be Evel Knievel, and he had a little bike.
Oh,
that one. That was. Oh man,
Patowski.
I loved that show. That show was.
Right.
Oh. That show was amazing. Bring that one back.
I think it is on Disney Plus.
I liked it.
I thought that was awesome.
I think it is on Disney.
I'm going to have to look now, because now I know the name of it.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. Danny, while I'm going to the next thing, look it up, see if it's on Disney Plus real quick. Or somebody.
Got it.
Somebody.
Yep,
Do it.
I'll take care of it.
Do it.
Do it now. Do it now.
All right, so the last one is what I'm calling classic Disney Channel shows.
Okay.
But for a lot of our younger audience, they're going to think, oh, like, you know, High School Musical or Hannah Montana or something like that. No. I'm talking classic Disney Channel shows, as in the shows that they showed when Disney Channel first was created.
Right.
So And I think it's actually because of the Defunctland channel on
Yes.
YouTube, because
He's-
they've been doing a lot of
he's great.
spotlights on these shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would love to see like some of these classic shows like Pooh's Corner and Mousercise. You ever remember, anyone else remember Mousercise?
Well, I do. In fact, we were talking before we started recording. Disney Springs had at the World of Disney store, they had the Mousercise outfit, and I got it from my wife for Christmas. It's a tank top and
I can remember being a
and the
little
sweatpants.
kid and waking up to that and doing the Mousercise with everyone. For those of you who don't know, Mousercise was this like exercise show that
Yep.
Disney created, where it was like they had like a person and she gave you like instructions of what to do, and
Right.
then Mickey Mouse would come out and exercise with you with the kids. It was, very 80s.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, not to break in, but it turns out.
go ahead.
Kick Patowski not on Disney. Plus
Yeah.
as,
See,
Oh, okay.
man, because I like that
Yeah.
show. That show was good.
Not yet. So I would like to see some of the like Pooh's Corner, like the Dumbo show that they had on Disney Plus,
Right.
on a Disney Channel when it first. Even like the Epcot. What was it called? They did like a thing that was like a show that was like spotlighting Epcot before, kind of like showing the different things at Epcot. Oh.
I know what you're
God,
talking
I
about.
can't
I can't remember the name of it now. There was another
Okay.
one that they did, a special with Dreamfinder and Figment that was released, and I'll have to look. I think that one's on YouTube. There was a little kind of cartoon that they had done with Dreamfinder and Figment back in the early '80s. But these are things that should be on Disney Plus. I mean, they're historic. You know, you would think that especially tied into the parks and things like, because that Imagineering story's got to be one of the top series on right now, because I know I've watched it, and I mean that's like 8 hours.
Oh yeah,
You know, I
that
mean-
was a beautiful,
Yeah.
and the funny thing was it was created by Iwerks'
Yes,
Daughter?
Yeah, daughter.
Yeah,
Or
his
granddaughter.
daughter,
Yeah.
which she actually also created a documentary about her father,
Yes.
that you can also watch.
Right.
So yeah, it's really great. I really like that documentary too.
Right.
But she did a great job. I really like that documentary series. I just wish they kind of skipped a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's more stuff that they could, like, I would love to see like a maybe continuation of the Imagineering story,
Yeah.
where they focus on, like I said earlier, where they focus on specific rides.
Yes.
Would be really cool.
I think that would be
But,
amazing.
yeah. Now, with that done, Danny, what's your list there?
Well, my list unfortunately is not as extensive as what you guys have, but I'll still try to keep it short and sweet though.
Okay.
So for me, I would pretty much go with definitely more documentaries, and specifically modern day animators, because I know that there's one that was done of Frank and Ollie,
Yes.
that was on Disney Plus.
We
Great
talked about that
series.
earlier. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good.
So, I think for me, probably just, I guess, like maybe a docuseries from modern day animators. I'm talking about guys like Glenn Keane, Andreas Deja.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Will Finn, I believe, and a few other, ones from the modern time, mainly during the Disney Renaissance from the 90s.
Right.
And just to see how they went about creating the characters, what was their thought process and everything in between.
Maybe
Right.
even some
The other
now,
thing,
like
yes,
working as a
especially,
company now.
Right.
Oh, well, right there. Like another documentary on like Cal Arts, because I know that Walt, when he was alive, he had either helped create that school or laid down the groundwork.
He
that would
helped create it, I
lead the
believe.
creation of Cal Arts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something about that, and even a documentary movie about voice acting, which I know there is at least one that exists, but one with a more Disney twist on things, like some of the actors who have voiced a lot of the classic Disney characters, whether it be both from back then And even now, like like with Goofy, you think of the late Pinto Colvig, or nowadays Bill Farmer,
Yes.
to name one example. Or even with Mickey Mouse, from the original one being Walt himself to even up until several years ago, Wayne Allwine.
Right.
And even with Minnie Mouse as well, up until Rusty Taylor, both of whom sadly are no longer with us. But that sort of thing, like a voice acting documentary, but with a Disney twist on things.
Yes.
Pretty cool. And those are two that I can think of. In terms of like any movies or shows, you guys pretty much hit it right on the nail. There was one announcement that I had heard, and I'm pretty sure you guys have heard it too. It was from one of the actors. Was it Greg Sipes, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
He had mentioned something about Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go, which was on Disney Channel, or I believe, Jetix, as it was
Yes,
called,
it was on Jetix.
for a time. And I know he had at least voiced one of the characters, and he had mentioned something about it possibly coming to Disney Plus, which for me would be great, because that was a fun little show. I mean, you had him, Kevin Michael Richardson, and a few other actors as well. But that show, and there's one, and I didn't even see it on there, though I could be wrong. American Dragon Jake Long.
Oh yeah, I
I
remember
think
that.
that is on there, actually.
It is? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, all
I
right.
think it is
Well,
on
if
there.
it is, I stand corrected.
Double check.
Yeah,
Go ahead and
so
tell us why you want it anyways.
Oh yeah. Well, for me, which one? American Dragon Jake Long?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
I'll
even
tell you-
if it's not on it, go ahead. Tell us why you want to.
yeah. I mean, for me, I love that show because before I had a chance to discover Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, granted, if I look at my history correctly, I believe it had come out. Well, I know the shows had come out not
around the
too far
same
from each
time.
other.
Yeah, it was
But
around the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my reintroduction to Dante Bosco, because I know that he had played Rufio. Everybody knows he played Rufio. But that show definitely was a nice little. Granted, it was only 2 seasons, which I wish maybe there could have been room for one more. But anyway, that was a fun little show. And you had you had him, you had Mae Whitman, aka Katara from Avatar, Kevin Michael Richardson, and just countless other. It was just a fun little action show, and definitely wasn't something that you saw too much of nowadays. It wasn't just a simple martial arts thing, because your main protagonist had the ability to turn into a dragon, and all the crazy stuff that happens from that, as well as the fact that there's like another world besides our real one. There's the magical world, in which basically all fairy tales and every fantasy story you can think of is there.
Right.
So, but like I said, my list is very, very short. I'm
No,
sorry.
like,
it's not as detailed as you guys have.
Here's a question for it. This is going to be a hot take question. This is going to be a piping hot take question for you, Mr. Danny.
Yeah.
Do you like the first couple seasons art style, or do you like the last couple seasons art style for
I like the
American
first
Dragon?
one.
The first one? Okay.
Yeah, I like the first one. That one blended itself to what the show is about. I don't know why they decided to switch up animation styles in the second season. That never made sense to me. I don't know if it was because of budget costs or whatever may have been going on behind the scenes. But yeah, for me, I prefer the animation style of the first season, and that's the one that I picture when I think of the show.
Okay. All right.
Very cool.
Well, that is all. That is our takes on what we'd like to see on Disney Plus. If you guys, listeners, arcaders, if you have some ideas for some stuff that you would like to see on Disney Plus, please comment wherever you're listening to this podcast. On the sites, on YouTube, or wherever you're listening to it. Let us know what you think. If you comment, we'll definitely read your comments here on the podcast too. So let us know what you think. All right. So now with that out of the way, it is time to go to a brand new segment here on the podcast. We're gonna try this out. We're gonna see what this is called. And this is all Ray, man. This is all Ray.
Oh boy.
So this segment is going to be called Ray's Archives. Ray, tell us what this new segment's going to be all about.
Well, you kind of wanted to do this thing where we're doing something. I pick a specific moment in history about video games. and it could be something monumental. It could be something lower on the totem pole. It could be something circling the drain, but it'll be something to do with the history.
Anything goes.
Right. And we're calling this Ray's Archive Files, which I love. I think that's great. All right,
Ray's
so you ready?
Archive Files.
Are you ready for my archive file? Cue the intro.
Yep, let's do it.
This series presents information based in part on theory and conjecture. The producer's purpose is to suggest some possible explanations, but not necessarily the only ones, to the mysteries we will examine.
Ray's Archive Files.
Okay, so this week, well, I don't know if it's this week. It's not this week. It's a moment in history. Saturday, December 3rd, 1977. You ready for this?
Okay.
Video games are just a passing fad. Top toy company executive says.
Oh! Ow.
So December 3rd, 1977.
That's fired.
Yes. The CEO of Milton Bradley at the time, Michael Moon, said that the problem with the toy industry historically is that it overreacts to trends. If video games are the same thing, that would happen to CB radios, 35mm photography, and stereo components. He says that people will become bored with video games after about a month.
Oh, wow. I bet he has his foot in his mouth now.
Yeah, well, probably. If he's still around, yeah, he probably has it. So, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. So
He's probably fixing his knee joint.
Right. So that is Ray's archive file for this this episode of the...
right.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Okay, so... our final, and this is something we've got to get Danny into. We do a little thing around here at the end of our podcast called the Final Countdown. We are going to do a final countdown, and basically what it is, Danny, is things that you think about maybe while we're recording, or maybe in the back of your head and you forgot about it, that you would have loved to talk about during this podcast, but it has to be short, quick, to the point. We have 1 minute to go around and put as many as we possibly can. Are you ready, gentlemen, for the final countdown?
I am ready.
Okay.
Let's start the
Let's do
engine.
this.
Let's do this thing. The minute starts right now. Okay, I would love to have talked more about some of the shows that popped in my head about the putting on Disney Plus, but I didn't think about them until the episode started. Go ahead.
I would like to add that I'd like to see the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars on Disney Plus.
Danny.
Okay. For me, one thing I forgot to mention was that I wish they could have also done a docu-series about the Marvel cartoons from the 90s. Because I know that there have been at least one or two that are somewhere out there in the internet's ether, but somehow have not even been revealed or come to light.
Okay.
The main one being the Spider-Man 90s cartoon.
Okay. All right. I got 5 seconds. I don't know what to say. So we're going to end it right there. That is the final countdown, gentlemen. Yes, and that's how we roll here at the Electric Circus. Listen, I want to thank everyone out there who is loving our podcast. We did see a big upswing because of Facebook. We had 88 views who redirected over to the site to listen to the podcast. I want to keep that momentum going. We are going to be cranking out content weekly to give you guys that Electric Circus goodness that you are looking for. Very excited that Danny's a part of it now, and the three of us will continue to do what we're doing right now, having fun, talking about things totally geek-tastic, and giving you guys what you really want to hear. And just keep checking with us every single week. And please go on the site, the arcadearchives.com. follow our Facebook and our Twitter and our Instagram. Josh, give us the info on that stuff, if you will.
It's The Arcade Archives on Instagram, Arcade A Network on Twitter, and Facebook.com/ I believe it's Arcade 1981.
Wonderful. Please follow us, like us, comment. We want to hear what you guys think about what we're doing, what we're saying. If there's something you disagree or agree with, if you love or hate, we want to hear from you. Okay? So, from me, Ray, aka RayGunn, and we over here on the other side, we've got the Ubernerd, Joshua. And he's been there thick and thin, man. Well, we got this thing. It's awesome. And now we have Danny, the UltraSonic Player. We are the Three Muscatels, and we are here to to give you guys what you want when you want it. I can't wait for the next episode. Should we give a hint about it?
Yeah, let's talk. Let's talk about it and see if people will comment. So
yes.
Read your comments on the next episode.
Right. So what is our next episode, sir?
Our next episode is going to be called First-Person Shooters, A History. So we're going to go over first-person shooters. Ray's going to go over the history of first-person shooters. And then we're going to talk about our top 3 or 5 favorite first-person shooters throughout our history.
I am very, very excited about that one. Because that's a subject that I kind of got into late in life. So I'm really excited about talking about that. So from me, from Josh, from Danny, this is the Electric Circus Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. And we are going to see you on the flip-flop. Keep playing like it's 1981. We'll see you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye. See ya.
Hey Arcaders, this is RayGunn from the Arcade Archives Network. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast that you're listening to. If you're listening on iTunes, please give it 5 stars. A lot of time and patience go into every podcast we do. 5-star ratings help us so we can continue giving you this quality entertainment every month. And don't forget to share us with your friends. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. And if you're over on our Facebook page, please like and share. Once again, we do this for you guys, and we enjoy doing it every single month. So every little bit helps. So please go online and like us today. Thanks, keep playing like it's 1981, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye now.
The Electric Circus is a part of the Arcade Archives Network and is produced by What's This Button Do Productions. Hey guys, what's this button do?
Oh, that's what the button does. Oh.